Could you introduce yourself?
Sure thing. Hi, I'm Mikey from the Gloom in the Corner. We're a band from Melbourne, Australia. I'm the singer and primary songwriter.
He's the singer and the primary songwriter,
I know it sounds fancy when I put it like
right?
that.
You're like, I'm the primary songwriter.
Yeah, it's a big mission. I'll put it that way. It's unfortunately kind of the only way that it has to work.
But yeah, so I'm curious, how would you explain the Gloom in the Corner to someone who has never heard you before?
We are a concept-driven metalcore rock and roll band. We have heavy moments for sure, but I think like especially with this new release, like we've got a lot of light stuff, which is a bit of a change. But all of our music is connected to one big long running story that's been apparent since the band's first formation, back in 2016. Um, so yeah, it's a lot to get into, but I feel like that, for the most part, like if you're just there for the music, that's totally fine. If you want to dive deeper below the surface, then there's a whole heap of stuff for you to dive into as well.
Yeah, I know there's like some lore behind all your music and everything.
Yeah, it's a big long running thing. It hasn't changed since 2016. Um, and it's a lot of work, but it's why I'm the primary songwriter because it means that I have to write everything out specifically for the story too. And it's not I say primary songwriter because the guys will come in and obviously have like their flair on the guitars and drums and everything else. But when it comes to like actually writing and putting down a lot of the story, that's kind of my main job in the band.
Yeah. When was the moment you realized that this band was going to be different from others and in the scene?
I think like typically at least straight from the get-go. This band was initially meant to kind of be a solo EDM project thing back in the day, and then I had just kind of walked away from another heavy band that I was doing at the time, and I still wanted to do that. I just wanted to do it in a different way compared to a lot of other of our peers at the time. Um, and I think that was mainly like the driving force was to do something different, at least from a lyrical and storytelling perspective. Um, so yeah, I think like initially we always knew the band was going to be different, whether it be different in a good way or a seemingly uphill battle kind of way. um, but yeah, I think it was pretty much from inception like that we knew we were gonna be something a little bit different and outside of the norm to most people.
Yeah.
And now, you had mentioned that pretty much since 2016, you knew this story writing was going to be a part of it. What brought on that concept or knowing right then at the inception in 2016?
Well, I'd always written stories and everything as a kid, like through high school. And a lot of what actually got adapted into the Gloom lore itself came from a lot of those stories. Um, I think like yeah, I just like I mean yeah, it's a big thing to undertake, I guess. Yeah. Sorry, my mind got distracted for a little bit there just because you popped a message into the chat about the mic. Can you repeat the question again? Sorry.
Yeah, did you know from like the inception, like, hey, this is going to be a story writing thing, right from out of the gate in 2016? How did that kind of come to be?
Sorry.
Did you have any kind of outside influence with that storytelling?
Yeah, I think straight from the gate, like I knew that it was going to be a storytelling based thing, and as said, like it was going to be a little bit different. Like originally, it was going to be a very much like EDM kind of, not I don't want to say shoegazy because that's not the right word, but like something down more the lines of like cinematic background music with lyrics and stuff like that over the top of it initially. But then, as said, like I had that change of heart after getting out of another heavy band, and we did want to go down that route. So yeah, the storytelling was always going to be a main component, and it's not something that will go away really. If we did it, it wouldn't be Gloom. And a lot of our fan base now is, like a decent amount of them have gotten into the story, and they really get into it too. So if we did ever end up changing that, it'd be a bit of a disgrace to all the hard work that I put in with telling the story.
Yeah. You know what I was thinking, Chris? I was actually, now that we're talking a little more about it, I'm thinking like Alisana and Annabelle. Like they have a
Yeah.
storyline with Annabelle.
Same thing with Coheed and Cambria, or um, there's another band that I was thinking of. Famous Last Words did like a whole heap of concept albums and stuff like that. I think like the big one though that kind of told me, at least like in 2014, that something like this was conceivable and can be done as a long running thing was a band called Defeater, and all of their records are all based around like the same story, but each album is a different character's perspective. And so that's kind of where like a lot of the big influence for doing this type of storytelling came from, was from those records back in the day.
Hmm.
And is there a character or storyline that feels the most personal to you?
Um, yeah, I think like the first initial character that like kind of came to be, um, was created off of the backbone of like a lot of the personal struggles that I went through, and so I feel like it's kind of like a worse reflection of myself is the best way to put it. The dude sucks. But I feel like that's probably the one that I have the most connection with, because it's basically took like all of my personal experiences and stuff like that was based off of like this character and put into the most extreme circumstances. So it's really easy to kind of lock in for me when it comes to writing that character. Um, and then yeah, like growing as the story grew bigger and even more characters came in and stuff like that. We found, I had to start putting on different hats, and for our last album, Trinity, like I literally had a mood board with each character that had like a set of guidelines to kind of follow when writing from this character's perspective and whatnot.
See, writing a record, it's probably like similar then to like someone writing a book.
Yep,
You
it's
know,
it's
you
very
you're
similar.
you're the author of this book, but the book is music.
Yeah, and it's a lot of work, and I feel like not to harp on about the last record we just did, but Trinity was very much like a very storytelling based album. Like all of the lyrics are very direct, and you kind of get into the emotional side of some of the characters and whatnot, but it was very much more about telling that story. Whereas this time we've kind of gone back to the emotional side of things for all these different characters that appear throughout the record. And so that was a bit of a change back for me too.
And just curious, how do you end up keeping all the lore and the storyline cohesive while evolving as a band and as a writer and let's say crap, what do you call that? Where they mess up the continuity errors. There you go.
Retconning is the
Yeah.
is the word you're looking for.
Yeah.
um, yeah, it's a lot of work, to be honest. With we like to put our albums and releases into different arcs. So from our first record back in 2016 to a release that was in 2020, we collectively called that like the first arc. And that arc has a lot of plot holes and misdirection, and like does isn't like apparently like super coherent initially, at least on like the first glance of it. And it's because it wasn't meant to expand out that far. And then we kind of realized after doing the first record that we wanted to do like a few more EPs or singles and whatnot. And so we had to kind of suddenly annex what was going to be happening next in the story and expand out from where that initial first record came from. Um, and so for this first like bunch of releases, it is a chaotic mess of a storyline. And I don't shy away from that. Like it was unfortunately just the product of what was happening around us at the time. Whereas now I'm very, 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 very conscious of it, and I became a lot more conscious of it as like each release kind of progressed. With Trinity, the last record, and Royal Discordance, I'm very adamant on making sure that I'm not like retconning anything in particular, or if there is a retcon or etc., then it kind of has to happen for a reason. Um, and it's generally like the really, really small stuff that like it doesn't matter if it gets retconned or not. It's like, oh, a character's slight look or something like that. It's like, no, let's just it doesn't matter. Like it's the finer details at the end of the day. Um, but yeah, I have to be very conscious. I have like big documents for like each release and whatnot, and I'll constantly go back to them when writing the new stuff or etc. to make sure that like I'm not going over myself or accidentally doing the wrong thing and retconning something again because I feel like I've definitely learned my lesson in that regard.
Yeah. With writing so many records and doing all this storytelling, have fans ever picked up on details or theories that you would be that surprise you?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, for sure. Some of the theories that they get sent through are pretty funny as well. We have like a Discord server where we have like a channel specifically dedicated to talking about the lore and them asking me questions if I need it and whatnot. Um, and they come up with some wild stuff sometimes, and it's cool to either go, "Oh, you're very close," or "Oh, no, that's completely off mark." But it happens every so often. Yeah, for sure.
What's one
Have
of the
you
wildest ones?
Oh, I'm trying to remember now. I feel like it has to be like someone. Actually, I think it might have been recently. Someone guessed pretty much the entire plot of the new record, and they were like 95% accurate, and that was before the record was even announced. Like
Wow.
it was
They're
so
super
close, and I was
fans.
like, yeah, I was like, I can't reply to this one or give too much away. Like that's wild. But it just goes to show like how kind of in tune they are with the story, and like I like to think that I'm somewhat, not fully predictable, but that one was like really close or etc. And I was like, damn.
now you
I'm
had
just
this
gonna.
you had this fan kind of guess what the next record and stories could be about. Have you heard of a theory from a fan and then be like, oh, actually, that's a really good idea and pulled anything in?
Um, I feel like I have, but I'm immediately prone to telling them. I'm like, hey, is it okay if I actually use that? Because it's generally like a little thing, like it's not something massive. Um, but there was one with one character where they pointed out something about a character, um, which in turn made me realize kind of like a real life kind of reference. That made me go, oh shit, this character is actually kind of like this and everything. And so I did incorporate that too. And as I said, let them know, like, hey, this is thank you for pointing that out because I totally would have forgotten it. Um, so yeah, there's little moments like that, but it's generally like small stuff. Like it's nothing major, I'd say.
Yeah. Now, your music does explore darker themes. Now, is there anything you hope the listeners take from it?
Oh, that's a good question. I think for this record, like surprisingly enough, yeah, we do cover a lot of darker themes as per usual. Like it's a pretty consistent thing. I think like um one of the big takeaways that I want people from the record to at least take away would be to acknowledge that it's okay to be yourself sometimes even if people don't necessarily like it or you feel like a little bit of an outsider. I know that kind of sounds like a generic metalcore post hardcore answer, but like where I'm, or at least me as a writer, like a lot of the time I can be very self-depreciative. Um, and that's just from the product of where I've kind of, how I've kind of grown up going through school and whatnot and everything like that. But I feel like with this record, with like at least like one character in particular who does kind of come into their own and everything, I feel like it's important to state that, like, at the end of the day, like, we are not all perfect people. And it's okay to be a little bit outside the norm. I'd like to think that the world is slowly getting more accepting in that kind of regard, but then some news story comes out the next day and makes me really think oppositely, I guess. But I think that's probably my main takeaway is that it's okay to be yourself, be a little bit different, be a little bit quirky, etc., etc. Not everybody's gonna like you, but that doesn't matter.
It's very true. Not everyone's gonna like you, Chris.
Everybody likes me. What are you talking about?
Throw them under the bus.
It's what I do to him. It's what I do. I'm old enough to be his sister. Sorry, it's a joke.
Cool.
It's a
We
joke.
have that sibling rivalry. Cool. No, that's good. That's good.
But one of my favorite songs of yours is Requiem.
No shit. Thank
Yeah.
you. That's a
Now
throwback.
the word requiem usually implies mourning or closure. Is that what you were going for with the song? Or was there
Yes, that
another meaning?
was. No, no, no. That was 100% it, and that was that was based around one of the characters' deaths in the story.
Okay.
It was meant to be their kind of like closing song for a minute. And then I pulled a supernatural and brought them back in the next record anyway, just because we live in that kind of fantasy world. So I just said screw it. But yeah, no, that was a tough song for sure. I think like especially around that time period, I was feeling a little bit lost and everything like that, and while I knew it wasn't going to be the end of the story, I knew it was going to be at least a closing chapter for, what made up like a big part of this band's identity. Um, and so that's where the name kind of comes from, is it's both a symbolic representation of moving on from this character, um, but also, moving on to something bigger and broader than just like the initial little universe that we had created.
Yeah.
Now I'm a little curious. When performing, do you approach live shows like a concert or more like theatrical performance?
Very much more like a concert. I like to, yeah, like at the end of the day, I'd like to think that like we're entertainers, but a lot of the time, when you're getting in front of an audience, especially on supporting tours and stuff like that, and with how much like that kind of theatrical production costs, like look at Ice Nine Kills, for example. We just don't have the money and the budget to do that kind of thing. As cool as it would realistically be to do, yeah, we're not quite there yet, I think. So we kind of approach it from as a kind of standard audience. But I think what I do differently, which I think kind of more and more people are starting to do now, and sorry, more and more vocalists are starting to do now, is kind of just be themselves. I feel like for a long time there's always kind of been like this tough guy, hardcore aesthetic where it has to be done with a lot of vocalists. Me, I like to joke around. I like to banter on stage with people. Like, I have almost like a back and forth conversation with the audience. And more vocalists are starting to do that now, which I think is really good because not everybody is a tough guy. Not everybody is like this big macho character or etc. Like, I think what what makes people connect with bands is, I think, like them seeing the human side of them and not just seeing them as this band. Um, and so I think that's kind of important to our image as well, is that like, because as I said, we are a quirky left of center band at the end of the day. We have this overarching cinematic universe bullshit happening. Like, if we went on stage and were like the tough guy macho thing, it just wouldn't really translate as well. There are moments for it, for sure, but like not the entire time, dude. Like, yeah, that's my philosophy about it, at least.
Yeah. Yeah, Ice Nine Kills. That's one performance. That's one giant theatrical performance. That's for sure.
And it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Like every time I see videos of them and whatnot, and it's wild to see.
I've never seen them live except for at Warp Tour years ago. I think I saw them once. And you can't really do all that on Warp Tour.
I think they still. Oh, are we talking like old Warp Tour, like
Old Warp Tour,
2015?
yes. Older
Yeah,
Warp
yeah,
Tour.
yeah. Okay. I mean, to be fair, they only really started incorporating like the theatrical live performance elements after like a couple of records ago.
Yeah.
But as I said, like every time you see it, it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Like they just have costume changes, they have, props and like killing people and stuff like
Yeah.
that on stage.
But
Like
don't get me wrong. I
it's
love a good
wild.
theatrical performance. I mean, look at Guar.
Yes, Gore is also another a perfect example.
Who have you seen that's been theatrical, Chris? Anyone?
I don't think so. I know Nikki recently saw In This Moment
Yeah, in
in
this
there.
moment was a good theatrical performance. I saw them too.
Yeah, they're very big in theatric too. I'm trying to think of somebody else now that like has
I don't know
something
if it's
similar.
considered theatrics, but you got like, you know, Parkway Drive putting on huge performances.
Yeah,
I don't know how
actually, yeah,
theatrical it
Parkway.
is, but they got lots of fire.
Yes, the one that they did at the Sydney Opera House just last year was pretty insane. From the footage that I saw, I unfortunately didn't get to go. Um, and I mean, honestly, like another really good one is Sleep Token as well. Like, look at their sets from that festival. Like, they have a waterfall on stage. Like, it's crazy. Like, they're another probably like another big theatric one too.
Yeah,
Now,
crazy.
what do you hope people feel after experiencing your music live?
Ooh, I don't think I've ever been asked that before. Um, I hope they take away like some sort of how do I put this? I hope that they walked away having had fun. Regardless of whether you're getting in the pit or just like watching the show. I'd like, as said, like I we put ourselves on as entertainers. I'd like to think that most people would walk away and go, yeah, that was a really fun live band to watch. And even though we do have backing tracks and whatnot, I kind of, as I said, coming from that philosophy as an entertainer, I don't like to try and put on the same show twice. I try not to say the same thing every set, which is hard because it means I have to remember multiple different things and remember what does work and what doesn't really work with the crowd. Um, but I like to think that they come away thinking, that was a really fun, good performance. That was entertaining more than anything else. Even if they turn around and go, "Hey, the music wasn't really for me," I'd still like to think that like we put on a good enough show for them.
Yeah. Well, you want them coming back too for another show.
Exactly, exactly.
Now, I do want to talk a little bit about new music. Now, what
Hmm.
excites you most about the next chapter for the band and your upcoming record, Royal Discordance? Is that how you say it?
Yes.
Discordance? It's a
Yep.
weird
You
word.
got it
I've
right.
never, I don't know if is it even a word?
Yeah, it's a word.
I feel like I've never used
Discordant.
that word ever in my life.
It's like it's another word for chaos, I guess you can kind of say.
Ah,
Yeah.
see, I would say like
Um.
disarray or something, you know?
Or disarray. Yeah, yeah, yeah. What would I like people to take away?
Well, what most
I think,
excites you
or what most excites me, sorry.
about the upcoming
Um,
record?
Honestly, like it's the fact that it's a change, I think, from the last one. You know, Trinity was very chaotic and as said, like very story driven. This one we kind of taken like the best and most chaotic parts of that record and just reined it in to be, I don't want to say the word commercial, but a little bit more structured and a little bit more digestive, I guess, is probably a good way of putting it. Um, I think we do some things a lot differently to what we've done before. Um, it still has its heavy moments, but I mean, it's not our heaviest record, but it still has its heavy moments for sure. But I like to think that people can see how we've progressed as writers and both just as people as well. Um, yeah, I think that's what I'm excited for people to see. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, are there any tracks on the new record that you're most proud of and can't wait for fans to hear? Besides, the two you've released.
I for the fans, I would say the fans of the story, sorry, I would probably say the opening track will be a big one. Um, but I'm really excited about the song That's Life as well. I think that's like a big change up from what we've kind of ever done musically, and like we kind of hint at stuff like it with the last few tracks that we've put out. Um, but I think that's going to be a one that surprises everyone, and from the few people that I've talked to about it as well, that's also been like a really big standout track to them because it showcases a side to us that we haven't really showcased before. Um, and a lot of people, at least the people that have heard it, seem to love it. So fingers crossed that everybody else has the same reaction, or they're gonna go, "What the fuck?" Um, but yeah, so that's probably the track that I'm most excited for. I think.
Is there a track you're most terrified to release in hopes that the fans don't hate it?
Same thing. Same song. Um, ooh, track that I'm gonna release that fans would not enjoy.
Well, you think they may
I
not enjoy, but you're hoping they
think they
do.
may not enjoy. Hoping that they do. Um, I think there's a song Shadow Rhapsody 2, which is technically a part two to one of the songs off of our very, very first record. And it really only showcases that in a couple of lines shared and in its namesake, kind of. Um, but I think like if I'd be scared, for lack of a better term, um, to showcase like something like that, it probably would be that because I think people will be expecting one thing when it's really not going to be that. So yeah, we'll probably say that, but again, it's probably like That's Life is probably the most terrifying one to put out, and also the one I'm most proud of. So
Yeah.
Now we've heard people comparing you guys to a heavier My Chem. Do you agree with that, or do you see yourself vastly differently?
I mean, I think I wear my My Chem influence on my sleeve pretty proudly, to be honest. Like they are my favorite band of all time, and I think like there's a few songs on this record for sure which very much showcase that. One of them being Angels Wrath that we just put out. What in November? It's February now. Holy shit. Um, and another one that's just coming out on February 19th. That's also very much down the same kind of vein. So I definitely get the comparison. I think it's funny that I kind of made it. So I said that as a joke to the PR people, and they kind of just ran with it. And then Metal Bird posted it, and it's suddenly now. Someone said Mike Hem on steroids as well, and I was like, yeah, I like that. I can fuck with that. So I'm glad that like I kind of hit the mission statement a little bit, I guess. But yeah, I think it's funny. I know
Hey,
that like Mike Hem fans will probably get mad about it, but like I don't give a
that's
fuck.
okay. It gets people talking.
Yeah, for sure. It's a good little way of putting it. But yeah, I don't mind it. I think it's pretty funny.
Now, one of our favorite things to discuss and hear about are any kind of crazy tour stories, anything that's happened to you on the road, anything that you've witnessed while performing, any kind of crazy stories you could share with
Ooh,
us.
yeah, I've probably got a couple. Um, yeah, I reckon the two that most recently come to mind, um, is back in the day. When I say back in the day, before we started getting like slightly bigger tours and whatnot, which brought in a more like mainstream audience, or before we were put forward to a lot more mainstream audiences, we used to have a pretty violent mosh pit. Like we kind of had a bit of a reputation for having a bit of a violent mosh, um, which is funny when at the end of the day I'm like, oh no, like everybody should be like helpful to each other and have fun and everything like that. We used to have some pretty bad ones. Um, that being said though, we've never had a showstopper before. We've had people break bones, roll ankles, break noses, get knocked out within first 5 seconds of a show starting. Like we've had some crazy shit happen. Um, However, we've never had a showstopper before until we did Trinity, the Trinity tour back in 2024, and our fill-in guitarist at the time stage dived and seemingly at the time during the last song, seemingly at the time dropped an audience member like flat, knocked out cold, like injured and everything. I immediately put the mic down. Our tour manager immediately jumped the barrier to like get down there and like clear way and everything like that. Um, what had actually turned out had happened was while Kai, our fill in, had stage dived very, very, very close to her, another dude in the mosh pit dropped an elbow just straight down on her head, and that was what caused the droppage. But that was the first time that we've ever had like a showstopper before, and that was really scary to be honest. Like this girl had like we had to have paramedics come and pick him up in the ambulance and stuff like that. Um, and yeah, it. I'm not usually one for like being avoidant of like stage diving and whatnot, but like if you're gonna do it, like make sure that you're really, really careful and you're aware of like
Hmm.
what's going on in the pit and stuff like that. Like it can be really dangerous. Like I'm sure you guys saw what happened with Trophy Eyes and John stage diving onto that girl like a couple of years ago now. Um, Stuff like that. Like it could have been a situation like that where someone was really seriously injured, and that was yeah a bit of an eye opener. That being said, most of the time now, like our mosh pits are generally pretty sanitary, for lack of a better term. Like they're more so the modern day kind of push pits and whatnot. We've had row pits multiple times, which I hate. um, I think the wild story that we had was we just did the States last year in April and May, and this van that we got, we just put through absolute hell, and it was not our fault whatsoever. Like we were driving to Vegas and kicked up a rock and put a splint in the windscreen. So the windscreen had to be swapped out in the Vegas parking lot of the show. Um, and then we did Canada as well, and as we were coming back into Canada at like 2 o'clock in the morning, 20 minutes from the Canadian border, all of us pretty much like ready to go to sleep, a deer jumps in front of the van and takes out a good chunk of the right side, takes out the wiper fluid um, container, and punctures a tire, and we're stranded there on the side of the highway, 20 miles from like any sort of found civilization. None of us have service, um, and we've pierced this right back tire, and we had these two French Canadian guys pull up who should not have been behind the wheel. And they offered, because the jack that we got given as well to replace the tire um, wasn't accommodating to the van that we had been given, and there was like a piece missing, so we couldn't even jack up the tire ourselves to get this thing off and replace it. So they offered us their jack, which was a jack for like a sedan, not like a van with a trailer. So we disconnect the trailer, jack up the van, and as per usual, because their jack can't hold the weight of the van, crunches over on this poor jack. Um, One of the dudes is like trying to like pull it out, and we're like, "Stop! You are going to get crushed by the vehicle if you do this. Like, get the hell out of there." Eventually, we're like, "We can't get the jack out. We're so sorry." Like, yada yada yada, and they're like, "Oh no, it's fine. Like, don't worry. Like, have a good rest of your night." Yada yada. Dude gets back behind the wheel with a half-empty bottle of wine in his hand, and we're like, should he really be driving? And we eventually managed to get through to a tow service company, and they came out and swapped out um, the tire for us, and we pulled out this wrinkled, broken jack. And as a joke, we decided, screw it, we're gonna sell it at the merch table tomorrow night as a piece of of iconic merch. We'll all sign it and everything like that. Put a little sign on it saying the jack that couldn't. Um, and we ended up making back our money from the tow by selling it the next night. There just happened to be like two like really I mean, both they were fans of the band, but they like picking up like really peculiar merch, and they both happened to be car people, and they're like, "This is perfect. This is going in the center mantelpiece of like this broken jack and everything." So all's well that ends well, but like, yeah, that was pretty wild, and we were pretty sleep deprived and everything by that stage, so it was not fun, but wild nonetheless.
It's a one of a kind merch item.
Yes, 100%.
There's no other one like it.
No, unless we wreck another jack,
Unless
but
you wreck another jack and then you can make another one and make more
yep,
money off of it.
hopefully.
It's funny how you were saying like your shows used to be super like crazy and everything because I got that feeling when I was listening to your music. I was like, man, this makes me feel like I'm back at these like really heavy hardcore shows I used to go to back in the day. Like, I don't know, I got that feeling. I got that feeling
Yeah,
like
we
I was
it used
back
to be
there.
pretty. Yeah, it used to be pretty wild, like especially with our earlier stuff. Yeah, I said like we had a dude knocked out 5 seconds into our set one time. Um, we've had multiple injuries, broken bones, concussions, broken noses. Like
Yeah.
it used to have a bit of a reputation. It's kind of sick, but I'm glad that we've kind of moved past that point a little bit.
Yeah, and then you said windscreen and I'm like, what the heck is a windscreen? And then I'm like, oh, it's probably a windshield.
Yes, sorry, I forget that you guys call it a windshield over there.
There's so many different things we call things probably than people over in Australia call things, you know.
Hmm.
Now, I am curious. Do you call it a bubbler in your area? He does not. He does not.
What's a
A
bubbler?
drinking fountain?
Oh no, no, we don't call it that.
I know there is the one area, like I think Sydney area kind of calls it more a bubbler.
Yeah, actually no. Now that you've said that, I'm pretty sure somebody said that to me the other day, and they're like, "Oh, that's called a bubbler," and I'm like, "What are you talking about? That is, I've
Yeah.
never heard it be called that in its life.
Well, that's what everyone
That's a
says
wild
when
one."
I call it a bubbler because I'm from Wisconsin and it's a
Hmm.
Wisconsin thing. And I
Oh,
think there
okay.
might only be one other place in the United States that calls it a bubbler.
I was gonna say, yeah, I've never heard it be called that before until A, you brought it up, and B, when somebody said it to me. But I think they were from Sydney too, so that makes sense. Um, but
But
yeah,
it'll definitely never ever be a water fountain.
we just call it a fountain or a drinking tap is what we call it. We're pretty straightforward and blunt with it, to
Drinking
be fair.
tap, I'll take that answer.
Yeah.
I'll take that one. But I do also want to know what's the best part about living in Australia and what's your least favorite thing?
Who?
Uh-oh.
Um,
Loaded question, right?
yeah, loaded question. I think like for me at least, like we're in Melbourne, and Melbourne's pretty lucky in the fact that we're pretty diverse multiculturally, and so that means like have like a whole heap of different festivities that come through and celebrate a whole heap of different stuff. It also means that we have a very vast food culture too. Um, our food culture down here is we can't really pinpoint something that's an Australian delicacy because there's so much stuff down here from other cultures. Um, so I feel like that like we're pretty lucky in the aspect that we live in such a multicultural country. I think more than anything else. The thing that I think sucks about Australia is that besides the fact that touring costs are going up, it's becoming less and less financially viable to do like big long tours unless you're doing like a regional tour that has like a big band doing it. So for example, last year we did a regional tour with Make Them Suffer and Justice for the Damned, and that was awesome because like every show was consistently like pretty filled out. But doing like an 18 show run like that, like what Parkway used to do back in the day, is just not like really like a viable thing.
Yeah, it's
Which
so
leaves
spread
us with
out.
which leaves us with having to really only do major cities. And then even then, the value, I guess, for lack of a better term, of doing some of those other cities is getting less and less viable. Like a lot of the times now, and it kind of fluctuates to be fair, but a lot of the times either Perth misses out because it's so far to get there. Like you have to fly, you can't drive that. Um, and then Adelaide misses out quite a bit too because them in Sydney have this rotating thing every like 4-ish years, I want to say, where they just don't buy pre-sale tickets. And so whenever bands kind of come through, they're like, "Oh, our numbers for Adelaide are always like really low. We're not going to bother going there again." But the turnout for the shows is actually really good. People just rock up on the day. And Sydney have like the same thing depending on who you are. Um, and so yeah, I think like the thing about Australia is like, from when we first started touring back in 2018, like you'd just be able to rent a van for $1,500, pay 500 if not more in fuel and drive it up and down the East Coast. And then that was a lot of like the expenses if you weren't doing accommodation and whatnot. Um, Whereas now it's getting much more costly to do so. Some bands like even just fly in between each state because it actually ends up being cheaper to do so. Um, which is what we did. We've done that a couple of times, and sometimes it's cheaper, sometimes it's not. It really depends on the month. Um, so yeah, I think that's the thing about Australia, which sucks, is that like it's a hard place to tour. Because there's less and less places for you to actually kind of go, especially if you're an international band, less and less places to make money, and then the travel itself is very very tiresome because it means that you're getting up at like 4 o'clock in the morning to catch a flight to get there the next day for the next show, or you're doing 12-hour drives cross country to get to the next place. Um, and a lot of those drives are very boring. We have the outback, so there's a lot of nothing to see a lot of the time.
That's true.
Um, so there are some beautiful places, don't get me wrong, but like the Adelaide to Melbourne drive is very grim. I'm not looking forward to doing it in March.
Yeah. I always wanted to
But
go to
yeah,
Australia someday, but I don't know if it's in the books for me.
that's fair. It's a very, very pretty place. I would highly recommend it, even if you're here for like a week or something like that. It's very pretty and there's a lot to do.
Yeah.
Um, and also your currency works better in your favor because our dollar is dog shit. So
I wish it was that way if I had to purchase my plane ticket.
that's true. That's probably the most
Can I
expensive
purchase
part.
it the other way around?
Coming back, it probably will be cheaper, but
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I always wanted to like see the Apostles
oh yeah,
and
with
Ares Rock, I think it's called. Red
Ayers Rock,
Rock.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Uluru, yeah,
All those things.
very
And I
hot up
really want
there.
to go to Rot Nest Island and meet a quokka
Yes,
in person.
yes. I
Have you
haven't done
ever?
that
You
personally,
haven't done
but like
that?
I know a lot of people who have. Um,
I'm so
well, you better
jealous.
get a move on for the 12 apostles because I think there's nine of them now because they keep eroding. So
Oh,
see how much longer we
yeah.
have them for.
Yeah, my dad used to like get me these yearly calendars, every year, and he'd get me an Australia one. And there'd be a
Sick.
picture of the 12 apostles, but I'm like, now it's only nine, apparently.
Well, I think it's like 9 or 10. We've lost a couple, but
It's gonna
yeah,
happen over the years.
yeah. I mean, they're a natural thing, and natural things tend to move on with the passing of time. So
Yeah.
they'll be around for a while.
Unfortunately, the like Great Barrier Reef is a natural thing that's having issues, but we won't talk about that.
Yeah,
We won't talk about that.
it's slowly getting better. I think they're rebuilding it
I
now.
think they were trying like ways to
Yeah,
save it, which is good. I'm glad because I mean, it's a
it was
freaking
iconic.
it's the Great Barrier Reef.
Yeah.
And Chris is looking at me like, "Oh my gosh, now we're talking about reefs.
Yeah, there's
Now
nothing
we're
wrong with the
talking
reef.
about reefs." Well, Chris, we only have one question left though, and it's the most important one.
Hmm.
This is the most important question that we ask everyone.
Cool. Fire away.
What is your favorite dinosaur?
I mean, as a bald man, I have to choose the ones which have the big giant bald cap, right? Like, I feel like that's obligatory. Um,
Which one
I
is
mean, no,
that, Chris? A Dilophosaurus or something like
I
that?
think it's yeah, Dilophosaurus.
Or is it something else?
Are you
Chris
talking
is,
about the ones that like ram heads?
yeah.
Yeah,
A pachyosaur?
no, Pachyosaurus,
Yeah.
that's it. Either that or a Velociraptor, but yeah, no, Pachy's probably my go-to. I have to represent the bald people, so
Yeah, you got to get little spikes all around.
oh, that'd be so much fun. Maybe I'll do that for Halloween this year.
You should. You should totally turn yourself into one of those.
Yeah, that'd be fun. I could do that.
See if anyone knows what you are.
Oh, I'm sure people would get
I
it.
mean, there's
It's
going to
either
be
that
those
or the
people that are really into dinosaurs that'll know, and then there's other people who will be like, "Are you a
no,
velociraptor?"
yeah, that too. Or it's either that or the Loraxis, yeah. So,
Oh yeah, you got the mustache. You could totally be the
mm,
Lorax.
mm.
I've been seeing a lot of Loraxes show up on people's stages in videos I've seen.
Like as in like moshing or just like
No,
just in
just on
general.
stage, like in the big costumes with like the big orange bodysuits and a big gut and stuff.
That's wild. That must be an American thing. We don't have that. We actually have a reputational couple of people down here that either dress up as Spider-Man or the big yellow banana or we had Power Rangers at one point too, I think in Brisbane. They would go to every show. Every show they dress up as like the Power Rangers. That was
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Are huntsman spiders actually that crazy? Like, what's the biggest one you've seen?
Biggest one that I've seen. Uh, not sure how well you can see that, but probably about that big. Almost like a hand size, like a palm size.
Yeah. I've
Um,
I've seen people like post pictures and I'm like, how actual big is it? Because they don't like do anything for size.
no, it's probably like the biggest one that I've seen is like palm size. A lot of them, especially in the metropolitan area. Sorry, hand size, I mean. A lot of them in the metropolitan area are probably just a little bit smaller than your average palm. But they're fine. They're homies. They won't attack you unless you do something to them. Like they take out all the bad bugs that are in the area. So
Well, yeah,
I always like having them around.
they probably eat like cockroaches and other things.
Yeah, or like yeah, mainly cockroaches and like ants and stuff like that, or other bad spiders. Like they're kind of like the big protector of all that shit. Oh, and mosquitoes and stuff like that too. They go for them. So I don't think they're bad at the end of the day. My girlfriend has a different opinion, but it
See,
is what it
and
is.
I'd be curious to see one in person.
They're really not that big. Like we get some really big ones, but most of them are, yeah, like just a little bit bigger than, I don't know, like cracker size or
Yeah,
etc.
I don't know. I've seen pictures and they don't scare me too much. But then again, I have this thing with like spiders. I work at a thrift store
Mm.
and every time a spider ends up on something or I find it in something, I have to like save it and let it go outside.
Oop. Sorry, you just cut out a little bit there.
I usually have to save the spiders at work and let them go
Just cutting out
outside.
again.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no.
How dare
Yeah,
it?
fair.
Yeah, your
How
internet
dare
keeps cutting.
Apparently, it doesn't want me to talk about the spiders I save at work. But
it.
anywho, the dinosaur question was our final
Wow.
question.
Good time for it to cut out on you, Jess.
Yeah.
Damn, in the last like minutes.
Is there anything else you want to mention before we leave? If it'll let us?
I mean, yeah, I guess album's out February 27th. We've got a Oz tour with King 810 and Dreg in March. So if there's any Aussie people watching this, then by all means, come say g'day. Um, yeah, no, I think that's pretty much it. I think I've covered everything.